This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Letterman. Oh, wait, there is no Letterman. Well, I got to tell you, last week I was texting back and forth with my good friend Matt Moscona, who happens to be sitting over here in the other chair. He of radio fame. And I sent him a picture of myself with the Rocky Mountains in the background. And it was really cold. And I was in a place called Canmore, Alberta, Canada, just outside of Calgary, where I was. And it was such a gorgeous, beautiful day, and the picture was kind of a cool shot, and you wrote back only that you must be miserable.
Mm-hmm. Rocky Mountains. I thought they'd be a little rockier than this.
Well, you
that
know.
John Denver's full of bleep, man.
Oh, gosh, listen to you.
That's a line from a famous movie. You remember it?
John Denver?
See,
this
is why this guy doesn't get popular culture. I'm trying to keep him young. And you know what else I'm doing right now that I've never done before in this chair?
Sat there with your legs crossed?
I got my leg crossed. Can we get a wide shot so you can see this? I mean, you can see the top of my knee. So, you know, a lot of times on late night TV, since when we were coming on, you mentioned Letterman, although they didn't hear that. I just figured, you know, there's a lot of times when famous people sit in chairs on late night and they do this. They do the leg cross thing. So I said, let me try it. Because I always sit like this when I'm on the show. And that's my camera, and there's the two-shot and all that stuff. But it's, you know what, let me be a little more inclusively. I'm facing you.
For those of you watching this show for the first time, this is the 22nd year of what was Sports Monday, which morphed into Sports 225. And this is show number 199. Next week's show is number 200.
Why didn't you bring me for show 200?
You want to come back next week?
Yes.
Okay, Matt will be back next week. And Matt is a frequent guest. I go on his radio show on Tuesdays at 4:15 p.m. I used to have a cool 5:15 Monday slot, but somehow I got bounced out of there for some ex-quarterback who's not on anymore.
Gone.
Anyway, but we have fun. But anyway, one of the things that we've had always gone back and forth with is
who's the ex-quarterback?
Rohan Davey. Remember you had him for
no, not
time.
on Mondays.
Was it on Mondays?
No, he was. Rohan came on Tuesdays at 5:15.
Whatever. Anyway, Rohan Davey's a really good guest.
Yeah, he is good.
Anyway, so we've had this running joke. I've always loved Canada and have taken many, many vacations there. And it's just such a great place to go in the summertime. And Matt has always, acted like he hates Canada, but he doesn't really know because he's never been there.
Yeah, Canada just never whipped anybody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Canada just sits up there and it's cold and, they've never really won any wars or done anything of great significance. So, yeah, it's just kind of blah.
So
I don't mind them.
I'm
just,
with some friends and walk, and it's like 25 degrees. Yeah. And I mean, I'm zipped up, hat, gloves, scarf, and their jackets aren't even buttoned up because they live there. It's like nothing. Oh, it's a nice warm day, eh?
Yeah, I've got no tolerance for that at all. 25 degrees, I don't want it. Now, on the flip side, after Canada, you went to one of my favorite places in the history of the whole world.
Right, where I'll put up the picture right now of this is me at Zuma Beach in Malibu. And I don't have any pictures to show from Pepperdine, but I did go to Pepperdine, and I watched a little bit of men's basketball practice.
Boy.
But I was there for...
the Waves.
Yeah, I was there
1992 College World Series champions.
Wow, that's something.
Under Andy Lopez, who then went to Florida and then won a national championship at Arizona.
Right. Well, it's a really small school. Well, you've been there.
Yeah, I have.
And, And you've told me, what was the occasion for which you went to?
My brother was living in L.A., and whenever I go visit somewhere, I want to go out and about. I want to see whatever universities are there. Yeah. So he was living in L.A. I just drove up to Malibu.
And the drive alone is amazing,
isn't it? The PCH, man. And went up to Malibu. And it is the wildest thing. You know this, but you turn off of Pacific Coast Highway into the university.
Yeah.
And it's just overlooking Malibu
Beach. Yeah, you go straight up.
Built into a hill. And like the dorms at that university, you're overlooking one of the most beautiful beaches, one of the most famous beaches in the world. Mm-hmm. It's like if I just hope, I wish in hindsight that I had gone and looked at Pepperdine before I made my college choice.
Well, your first choice was a little different.
Yeah, very different. But
tell them what you did.
Well, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
So then my son, if he's able, and college able and all that stuff, he can go wherever he wants. But I will demand that he go tour Pepperdine.
At least take a visit.
You will go visit. I will, and if you go there, Dad gets to come visit you.
Well, it's funny because Kevin Hambley, who's now the coach at Stanford in volleyball, when he was at Illinois, he goes, man, we were sitting there one day talking a bunch of recruiting and a bunch of guys sitting around. He goes, all right, you've been to almost every college in America. And he goes, what do you like? Where would you go? And I said, you mean like just because of what was the coolest places? And immediately one of the first ones I said is, I love Pepperdine because it's just so beautiful. Well, evidently Pepperdine's a pretty staid and narrow place. It's not like, you got a lot of rules. It's not a get nuts place.
Ugh.
But it's just so beautiful. And then I threw out a couple of others. I said, well, Colorado University is pretty nice in Boulder,
yeah.
Pretty sweet place. University of Georgia is one of my all-time favorites for just visiting. And he was surprised that Pepperdine was the first one. Now, if you've ever been to Stanford, there's nothing that blows you away necessarily about Stanford except just the whole thing, the farm.
Do you know that Stanford, the architect?
Speaking of, you've got a Stanford color.
It is
there.
that sort of that
Yeah,
red.
yeah.
The architect that designed Stanford, because I went to Stanford, took actually the tour. The architect that designed Stanford is the same architect that designed LSU.
No.
And when you
did
can
not
see
know
a lot
that.
of the similarities with the stucco and the arches, and the layout of the campus is very similar, such that when they told me that, I was like, I wanted to find the bookstore, and I just walked through the quad as if I was at LSU, and I bet the bookstore's over this way. Sure enough, it's like
No, that's
it's
interesting.
wild. Yeah, same architect.
Well, in this segment in which you've heard nothing about sports, I'll leave you with this.
So, sports are boring. Who
If-
cares
if
about
you-
sports?
When you make your first trip to the Colosseum in Rome, and you go there and you look at it, and now long before, if you can remember Tiger Stadium before it became like 6 buildings into one, the original designer of Tiger Stadium, no doubt, studied the building and design of the Roman Colosseum. It looks just like it. It really does. You go back and see those pictures. He's Matt Moscona. You can listen to him every day from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge, 100.3 ESPN in New Orleans.
Nailed it.
Tons of apps and all sorts of stuff and this and that. When we get back, we'll talk sports. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. You're not a number here at ITI. You're known by name. The staff and the instructors work diligently for your success because your success is our success. ITI is family owned and part of this community. Our 10-acre campus has been here for over 40 years. Let us evaluate your credits to determine if they'll transfer here. ITI is accredited by the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey for a better life.
We're back on what I seem to recall was Sports 225, but Matt and I have a rule with each other. We never talk politics when I do his radio gig on Tuesdays, and he's not talking politics now, but he is doing a most recently seen on the couch pose.
It would have been way funnier if you didn't even bring it up. If I just done the
But
segment
nobody
like
would have
this.
gotten it.
Everybody would have gotten this. Are you kidding me?
Do you
I
think-
don't even care about politics, and I know what this is. It's the Kellyanne Conway picture in the Oval Office.
There's so many things that I
Everybody
have.
gets that.
So many problems I have
You
with her.
get that, right? You get that, everybody in that room, you all get that, right?
Yeah. There's
There's
so
no-
many
there's no
problems
need
I have with
to-
her, and not one of them was her getting up on a couch to read her phone.
Who cares?
Anyway, why'd you come up? Why did I invite you on? I can't remember.
Sports.
Oh, so last week it was funny. 2 weeks ago, I did a show with Ron Higgins. It was a show that was very good, and I wore this particular shirt, right? And the next week, which was last week, Mardi Gras week, I did a best of, and I was going to do a best of with you. I didn't care that you were coming on now, and then you've already bragged that you're coming on next week too. So it would have been 3 weeks in a row. That's okay. So I went and picked out the one that I wanted to run from last fall, and I was wearing the same shirt that I had worn with Higgins the week before.
So same shirt.
No,
Is it this shirt?
No. So I bounced you. I didn't use you for the best of. I used our show with David Ching, which I was going to use the next time. So
Whatever.
And it was good too. Ching's good. You
Awesome.
ever has he ever come on with you? Because
Sure.
he's ESPN guy?
Chingy?
Yeah.
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 He's very good. I like David.
Yeah.
Auburn guy.
Yeah.
Shows how versatile you can be. People always assume that just because you cover a certain school that you're biased. At least that's what they say on Twitter. You're biased.
Your bias.
Not biased. Biased.
the
but it goes
poster-
to show you, man. You can be. You
you
can be
can-
diverse. It's a gig. Just
I mean,
a job.
for real. Like I came here with no frame of reference for Louisiana and jumped right in. It was, but
and now you're biased.
no, in more ways than one. But the poster child for that around here is Glenn Gilbo, who when he covered Auburn, everybody thought he was an Alabama fan. When he covered Alabama, they thought he was a big Auburn fan. And now that he's covered LSU for like the last 25 years, everybody thinks he's something else. And Glenn's just a sports writer.
Yeah.
You know?
He's biased.
He's
Twitter props, man.
What's the big thing on Sports Talk Radio this week?
I think potential of a Brandon Cooks trade. It's a big deal right now with the New Orleans Saints. LSU football is getting ready for spring to start on Saturday.
Nothing excites you more than spring football.
I don't care at all about spring football. I think it's meaningless. For people that have ever accomplished anything, spring football is pointless. It matters for guys that are going to be first-time starters. But I had a conversation. Remember Moeldy Moore, Bel Air and Baton Rouge, was maybe the greatest player ever at Tulane, like legitimately.
Pittsburgh Steelers for a long time.
Won a Super Bowl with Pittsburgh, played also for the Vikings.
For a while when he was playing, did a cool thing with at Christmas time. He took a lot of kids shopping and stuff. And,
great guy.
Yeah.
Moeldy's a great guy.
He is.
And Moeldy came on my show one year around Super Bowl time and getting ready, after Super Bowl, getting ready for spring football. And I was like, man, for you, was spring football meaningful? And Moeldy just belly laughed. He was like, man, the coaches told me just go sit over in the corner. Don't do anything. It's like I never did anything during spring practice. But it goes to show you, man, it's for guys that have actually accomplished anything, just get healthy. Don't get hurt. Yeah. So, but for guys that are trying to win a starting job, it's important. I think for LSU this year with Matt Canada coming in, installing a new offense, maybe there's a little to do with Danny Etling and.
Well, I think anytime
the new offensive coordinator,
your program's in a period of transition, which this is, even though Coach Orgeron became the acting head coach early on in the season, once the season ends and he becomes the head coach, there's a new coordinator, there's a little this, there's a little that, there's the age-old, quarterback question again. So spring training may have a little bit more significance.
But remember, so much of the staff was retained as well. Dave Aranda's back, Steve Ensminger's back, Corey Raymond's back, Jeff Grimes is back. Because they retained so much of the staff, a lot of the players are familiar with their position coach already. But you're familiar with how drills are going to be done. And Ed Orgeron ran the show for the last 8-10 weeks of the season last year. So most of those guys know what to expect with an Ed Orgeron practice.
Yeah, even longer than that. It was was it 10 games?
No, he got 8 games.
8 games, and then the month off, the bowl, whatever.
Well, remember they didn't play
and they missed
South Alabama, so it was 8. The bowl game included 8.
Yeah.
Games.
So, but there's a lot. They lost a lot too, as they do every year. I mean, teams of this caliber now lose a lot of good players, but in LSU's case, some really significant losses. 7
starters on offense return, 5 starters on defense return. But man, when you look, they lost the best player at every level of their defense. When you lose, a guy like Gottschall at defensive tackle. Now Arden Key's back, but again, he's got his own situation right now. But you lose Gottschall, you lose Kendall Beckwith, you lose both Jamal Adams and Tre'Davious White. Duke Riley's gone as well. Veteran guys like Lewis Neal, Tayshaun Bauer. I mean, you outside of Arden Key, you returned 3 sacks, career sacks on this team. So they've Lee, last year was their year. I mean, 2016 was their year. Everybody came back. Remember, everybody came back.
Yeah.
All those seniors. You had 17 seniors on that team. Man, that was the year. Fournette was a junior. Adams was a junior. Dupree was a junior. Harris, this was supposed to be his year.
Because you're not going to get senior leadership. You're going to get junior leadership, and that's
right. It's rare that you get guys to come back and play their senior year. But LSU actually had it last year. They had Beckwith come back, and they had Tre'Davious White come back, and and Lockachar, and all these guys, and it fell apart in September.
Sure did. Jamal Adams has had a fabulous spring. Well, it's not spring yet, but you know what I mean. In the eyes of the scouts and all that stuff, hasn't he?
I think he'll definitely be a top 10 pick. I think just a question.
Was it him who boasted he should be the number 1 pick overall?
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with a guy doing that, going to the combine and pounding his chest a little bit. It's what you're there. You're there to sell yourself. It's a big job interview. So, and with especially at that position with a defensive back, you want somebody that's cocky. You don't want somebody in your secondary that's tentative. Because, man, if you're tentative, if you're thinking too much out there, that's when these freakish 6'4" receivers that run like gazelles, 4.3 40s, are going to make you look stupid. But Jamal Adams has always played with swag, man. It's one of the things that makes him a very talented player. He doesn't miss tackles. He's a big hitter. He's good in run support. He's multi-dimensional as a safety that can play in coverage and play at the line, which is why he's going to be a top 10 pick. He's a fantastic player, man. He's obviously got the bloodlines. His dad was a first-round pick coming out of Kentucky back in the 80s. So I think Adams will go before Fournette, should anyway.
Bloodlines matter.
Yeah.
I'll leave you on this. So we've had pro days coming up, and we've had pro days here where people have participated. Some have gotten badly hurt. Did you see the woman from Detroit, sportscaster, who ran a high 5-point?
How about that? In her heels?
Well, not like high heels, but still shoes with heels. I couldn't break 8, I'm sure. He's Matt Moscona. He breaks 8 every day from 3 to 6 on the radio. It's Sports 225, and we'll be right back.
Don't let the bed bugs bite you. We'll put them to sleep.
Bed bugs can be transported from most anywhere. Hotels, department stores, even a friend's house.
We've got the bead on bed bugs. Call the bug man today.
Call 923-BUGS.
We're back on Sports 225 with Matt Moscona. I wasn't looking at the monitor. Did they get that? Whatever it was you were doing?
Yeah, they got it.
Okay,
I was
good.
just pointing.
Okay, that's good.
Just welcoming the audience into our set.
That's good. So I wanted to ask you, and I didn't prep you on this, but it's something I've been thinking about. Is this a correct perception about SEC football, that it felt like there was a little bit diminished interest and definitely diminished performance, and it might be part of a trend right now where maybe some other conferences are feeling a lot better about themselves for good reason?
I think.
Am I onto something there?
I wrote a big long column for Gridiron Now about
Did you?
that. And
I did not know that.
No, that's fine. I think there's I think a lot of SEC fans take offense to that, but my premise is twofold. Number one, the SEC has replaced legendary coaches with completely unproven coaches. Les Miles to Ed Orgeron, Mark Richt to Kirby Smart, first-year head coach. Just run down the list of guys that James Franklin at Vanderbilt, who got them winning,
right,
and to Derek Mason, who had never been a head coach before. You can just run through the league, and you see that time and time again with new coaches. Whereas if you look at, say, the Big Ten,
and
Urban Meyer,
and the Jim Harbaugh factor can't be diminished in the overall scheme of things, can it?
They bring in James Franklin at Penn State. They bring in Paul Chryst at Wisconsin. They have sort of their deans of coaches in Kirk Ferentz and Mark D'Antonio. The Big Ten has great head football coaches right now. Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
They've invested in head coaches, and they're better for it.
And you remember when Kirk Ferentz was a guy who was prominently mentioned when LSU hired Les Miles as a guy who might replace Nick Saban?
I do. And Ferentz has just never wanted to leave Iowa City. He'll be there forever.
You ever been there?
No.
I've been there in the summer, and it's okay. And I've been there in the winter, and it's absolutely miserable.
Miserable.
And there's nothing. There's just nothing.
But that's a place.
But it's a great college town,
Yeah.
much like Penn State, in the middle of nowhere, and it's a great college town with a beautiful campus.
Every 4 or 5 years, he's competitive, and that's good enough there.
Stays under budget.
The other is quarterbacks as well. Whereas the SEC has relied very heavily on grad transfers and have not developed quarterbacks. You go back to 2013, maybe the greatest quarterback year ever in the history of the league, where you had Johnny Manziel, A.J. McCarron, Aaron Murray, Zach Mettenberg. Like the 6th best quarterback in the league was Connor Shaw, who had 3 11-win seasons at South Carolina.
You know what always struck me, the random bit of trivia, is that most of those quarterbacks' last names began with M.
Yeah, it was all the M's. That's how I can rattle them off so quickly. But yeah, I mean, and you had Nick Marshall obviously at Auburn as well, get them to a national title game. Point is, none of those schools have replaced quarterbacks adequately after that year. They've struggled to do so. So head coaches and quarterbacks in the SEC have done this, whereas in the Big Ten and the ACC, it's done this. So I think the SEC has come back to the pack, and those conferences have caught up.
And
is it a one-year thing? We'll see. But this past year, I would make a very strong argument that the Big Ten, bowl record notwithstanding, because bowl record's stupid, it doesn't matter, exhibitions. The Big Ten was the strongest league in college football last year.
Speaking of bowl games, I think that you will see way more bowl games now where star players opt not to play and end their eligibility. I don't think that's I'm not saying it's going to be a tidal wave of a trend, but it's not the last you're going to hear about.
Oh, you'll see it again for sure.
And especially if anybody's borderline on an injury.
You will see star players cherry pick from time to time. I think that will happen. But those that assume this will be a trend and you just have droves of players choosing not to play in the bowl games, I don't buy it. Look at Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's going to be the #1 pick in the draft. He played the bowl game. But you're going to see some guys, especially at positions where injuries are more likely, namely running back, where guys choose not to play.
Droves. Good word.
Droves.
He's Matt Moscona. He uses
Birds.
lots of good words every day from 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN, 100.3 in New Orleans. You can follow him on Twitter, where I think that's just at Matt Moscona.
At Matt Moscona. A lot of vowels, though.
Yeah, you got to be able to spell and stuff, and then if you be able to read, you can read his stuff at Gridiron Now. And, your occasional guests here and there, and if they follow you on Twitter, you can hear them there, We're way over. I got to go to break. You all right?
Do it.
All right, good. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
See that dog lover? About to unleash the terror hound on these friendly, unsuspecting canines? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too. Easy there, Cujo. Taking part in a dog socialization program at a shelter or pet store can help nip this problem in the bud. And no matter how well socialized your pet is, cleaning up the little rays of sunshine they leave in their merry wake is your responsibility. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch, and it's a short home stretch for what we have left of Sports 225. Matt Moscona has been here. Thanks to Corey from JCW for directing the show, under the guidance, of course, of John Williams, who's probably hawking over his shoulder in the booth. Remember that you can go to sports225.com to check out all the listings for when we're on Cox 4, CST, and watch any archive show on the Sports 225 TV channel, and I'll get with it. See. So now, me and Matt will do like the...
how do you think it went?
The show?
With the leg cross. How do you think it went?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, we would have problems if we went opposite leg cross, and if we did, we'd bang feet, and then, the whole...
Well, now here's the other thing, though. This feels kind of exclusive, though, from the audience when we go to the wide shot. It's like I'm turned off from them.
But as long as, they know that you're engaged with the host like me.
Okay. How do you think? I mean, am I the first guest ever to do this?
No.
Male guest?
No, and haven't had all that many female guests, which is not a flaw of the show, but just, over the years. Who was great was Amy Gill when she was here.
She was. I liked Amy Gill an awful lot. I like Amy Gill an awful lot.
Yeah. But she moved to Fresno and, whatever.
She's from there.
I know.
She went back.
I know. She was a good sportscaster. We got
Still
Taylor Halsey, who is now one of the women in sports in Baton Rouge. She needs to come on. Oh, jeez.
Now I'm engaging the audience. I feel I don't want to be closed off to them. My body language was suggesting we were closed off there.
Now that I've completely just basically wasted the end of the show, you want to say hello to your son and make him watch this?
I will. I was just telling the audience bye. I was shutting up.
I thought you were going to say hello to your son.
No, I was shutting up and letting you finish the show.
Oh, all right. Drew, say hi to Daddy. Daddy, say hi to Drew.
Hey, buddy.
I surrender. For whatever this show has been, I hope you enjoyed it. I always like cutting up and laughing with Matt. I'll see you next week on Sports 225. Fade out. Get out of here. Beat it.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky. This Spanish Town Mardi Gras, may it never die. Poetry was everywhere,